of death?
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 23rd of March, 2025. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
OOS.
And Robert Kemp.
I ain't got up to that. I don't.
Good job.
I was just trying to work out what you. I was trying to work out what that even meant. Like double OS? What? Oos?
Well, first of all, think about the theme song we just heard at the start of this episode.
Okay, yeah.
And then think about what S might mean in this context.
I mean, yes. Because I put that on after the fact. I didn't see where you were going with that. Okay, yeah. All right, I'm with you. That make me, if you're Agent 00S, would that make me 00R?
Well, yeah.
If I came a little bit before
or G
you,
at least.
yeah. But then if Dan came before them, then he would be. What comes before R? Q. It'd be 00Q.
Yeah, but there's already a Q. God,
But he's not
double O.
Confusing. No, he's not a double O. I mean, anything can happen, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
That-
now Jeff Bezos has got control of it.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those classic, like, new team takes over and doesn't even know what that actually means. And they're just like, oh, you're just going to call him 00G. Even though that doesn't actually work.
He's the 00G.
Yes. That would be that's actually not an Amazon one, that's just a parody. Where it's like James Bond from the Hood or whatever.
No, they won't have a Q. Like, well, they will, but Q, he won't be a genius anymore. He'll just order
That's
things.
I actually think that's just because everyone's like, who's the next James Bond? I actually think that would be a genius idea, is like Daniel Craig's Bond dies and then they just promote Ben Whishal's nerdy Q or whatever to become Bond, and he gets all ripped and he becomes like
That would be really
that would
weird,
totally
though.
work.
Like, for a character who doesn't really have, like, field experience to suddenly be made a 00.
Yeah.
It's
He has to step up. Maybe
real
they
odd.
do like auditions and then no one's good enough, and he's like, well, I've got to do it now.
I think that would make sense as a spin-off Bond.
Well, that's
Right.
what it probably will be, right?
Yeah,
It's
if they
probably
went-
some crappy Amazon TV show.
Yeah, that would make more sense. But yeah,
It's called Double OQ.
you got to have a lot more product placement. That's what I'm talking about. If it's a Bezos game,
Yeah,
they've got to ask Alexa where Bond is.
when Alexa's going to know.
Yeah, because they wrote a skill for that.
I don't hear about Alexa as much anymore.
they'll ask her that, and then she'll be like, "He appears to be in Venezuela. By the way, would you like me to notify you whenever Bond leaves the country?" There'll be like some annoying, like, by the way.
How's your Alexa use going? Is it still you still use it for home automation stuff?
I haven't done a lot of that for a while. I mean, it's obviously all rigged up there, but I don't ask it to do a lot. I ask it to play music more than anything, depending on where I am.
Do you ask it to play specific music or just say music? Or...
Yeah, I just say shuffle my like songs generally, because that seems to be the trigger to get Spotify to shuffle your like songs list. But yeah, that's pretty much what I use it for. And occasionally confusing Milesy by asking it to meow repeatedly.
That effective and confusing.
Doesn't seem to work on the cat.
No.
Works better on Miles. It used to work better on previous cat, not current cat.
Right.
Mini Moo used to not like the meowing Alexas. But yeah, I don't really use it for that. I've got a problem with one of them, in that, I've got a Ring doorbell, and it's like they all go off when the button is pushed, which is nice and convenient. But annoyingly, the one that's in the living room, which you'd think would be the one that should make the noise, doesn't make the noise, and I don't know why. I've even programmed in an extra little routine that's supposed to, like, when Ring doorbell rings, play a noise, and that doesn't trigger either. But if you ask it a question, it's happy to respond from that one. It just won't, off its own back, seemingly, make any noises, which is weird. I don't know why it's started doing that, and I don't know how to fix it. So that's great.
Need Q to come and fix it from from Amazon's.
Then also make it shoot a deadly laser or something in the process.
I imagine all Dr. Evil really needed was Q, right? He didn't need anything. He just needed someone to put laser beams on the sharks.
Yeah, exactly. That would be super easy for Q.
I just imagine those old Echo, like the cylinder ones, right? That they don't make anymore, but like they just this gas slowly seeping out of their perforations. They're
definitely a Trojan horse device in more ways than one.
Oh yeah. I think my favourite thing the Alexas do in my house is just, one, I like the good night routine, so I can ask it to do that and it will turn all the lights off, which is fine because people leave lights on. It just happens.
People,
yes. And the fact that I've got a contact sensor attached to the fridge, so if the fridge is left open for too long, it tells you. Those are like the most useful things. And occasionally blowing Miles's mind by turning the lights in the living room to a weird colour. He does sort of just go, wow, whenever it happens.
That's cool.
You blow my mind. With a
that there was the big push for Alexa and all the voice assistants like before the LLM stuff came around and ChatGPT, but no one seems to have. Obviously, they have put them together, but no one's pushing that I can tell.
Well, Alexa, I mean, oops.
Yeah.
I did it. I know. It gave up. There we go. Okay, cool. Amazon are doing that, but apparently it will be a paid-for service. You opt in to upgrade your Echoes to use it. And it's like, I don't know you're going to get many takers on that. And there are homebrew ways to do this, right?
Right.
There's a channel I follow on YouTube, a guy called Paul Hibbett, who's smart home tech and goes deep onto some of this stuff and sometimes experiments on his own. And he rigged up, there's a way to rig up an LLM model basically you give it a prompt that's the rules of engagement, and the tool you use basically prefixes that to everything you say. So if you ask it to do a thing, it basically prefixes this massitive document you have to have pre-written yourself to describe. It's like, okay, when I say this, I mean this, and this room is like this, and these lights are, you have to give it like knowledge of your house. But the LLM works by it having that fed into the prompt every single time. And then it asks your actual question afterwards, like, bearing all of that, with all that in mind, turn my light off. It's that kind of thing. And then it will go away, run the model, and then it can chain the things together. And that stuff is possible, and it does allow for more natural language commands.
Yeah, than the skills, right? We have to say the right format.
Yeah, skills do have a format to them as they stand right now, which is fine because that makes them easy to develop for, which is why so many skills turned up for it. But it does mean you have to say the right phrase. I find more recently, like when I have randomly asked Alexa a question, like I'm sure I asked it like, has this person died? Noam and I do tend to have conversations every now and then where it's like, isn't he dead? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's not. And then it's like, but I'm not 100% sure, and I'll just shout it at Alexa in the room.
That's your list of your history of Alexa questions.
Yeah.
Has this person died? And then,
well, we were talking about John Virgo earlier today, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's alive. I'm pretty sure he still commentates. Yeah. But, just using that as an example. But it's like, you'll ask, often if I ask Alexa a question these days, she just goes, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, it's somehow got worse, I think. Like it just refuses to answer things now.
Oh, it doesn't want to tell you who's dead or alive.
Well, yeah, it doesn't even do the thing that it used to do in the early days, which was I've sent a Google link to your phone because I couldn't it couldn't
figure it out.
It couldn't figure out how to describe it to you in voice, so it just goes, I've sent a search result to your phone. But it doesn't do that anymore.
Is that like because Google sucks, where it's like it's trying to get the information but it actually can't because Google is so bad now?
I wonder, yeah. But I've always wondered how that actually works, in the sense that like there must have been some summary engine going on behind the scenes, or maybe it was human powered, I don't know. Like you could ask it, what's the perfect time to soft boil an egg, for instance, and it would go, well, according to this website, it's 3.5 minutes or whatever. So I have memories of asking it a lot of questions about eggs.
What a surprise!
Like, how do you tell when an egg is off?
It's not an egg; it's a banana.
Yeah, which way round is it? Is it the floating egg that's off, or is it the? No, we asked. No, it wasn't Copilot at the time, was it? It was something else. But we asked one of them the terminal velocity of a banana, didn't we?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And whether it would kill you if it hit you. It may kill you, and it may not.
Yep.
According to its answer.
That was the classic AI answer. Like, fuck only knows, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to say it like one of these is true.
Way with the future.
I mean, it's a life lesson in a way, isn't it? Listening to Copilot or listening to Gemini or anything like that. It's like, just say it with confidence.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the thing about the LLMs, is basically their only goal is to tell you what you want to hear. Right? It's not really to be accurate in any way. It's just to tell you the most, like,
the most likely thing.
Yeah,
the most likely thing that is a sensible response to what you asked.
Yeah, exactly. Which quite a lot of the time can be quite good.
Sure. I mean, I had a couple of occasions this week, like, I had admittedly fairly dumb programming questions, just things that had slipped my mind, and it's just like, in C#, can I blah, 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 and it goes, yeah, you can totally do that. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah. I had one last week where I was asking it some SQL query or whatever, and it did come up with something that worked, and it was fine, and I used it, and then a week later I was like, I should probably actually read the docs, and then I found something simpler, right?
Sure.
I wanted to do like an aggregate. My final solution is just use an aggregate function with a max function in Postgres, but its version had like a window, and then labeled every row in the window with with like a row number, and then selected the row number 1 from that window. It's like, no, you just want that right, and it's like, that worked. It worked.
Yeah,
but I was like,
that sounds a bit overcomplicated. Yeah, I mean, it's always worth checking these things with. Oh, I don't know if Postgres has it, but like, I remember when I was in the MSQL days, right? Like, you could run the optimizer or run see the query plan and be like, which one of these is actually more efficient, as far as like, what has the optimizer done here? And sometimes the least the less elegant solution in code was the one that actually ran better. And you're just like, I can see the optimizer's done a way better job of understanding my intent there.
I think Postgres probably has all of that stuff. I just haven't used it. I don't think I've used it, because that SQL server had like a UI, right? SQL Studio or whatever.
What's SSMS was
right. So presumably that does exist for Postgres. I just haven't used it. Anyway, programming, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done database stuff in a long time now. But,
and I'm only doing very simple stuff, but I mean, I needed an aggregate thing. But the point is that the AI gave me something, and I was like, oh, I couldn't be bothered to look that up, and it gave me the solution. Great. And then later on, I was like, probably think about it for 5 minutes first.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sort of, as a programmer, I suppose, I've just never really had a huge amount of knowledge of. I don't know. It's like it's the sort of like outside knowledge of like, oh, this algorithm exists or this technology exists to some extent, and I'm sort of thinking.
I always think of you as like the expert on that stuff, because like I never did. Like, you must have done a course or something on on databases at university, which I never did because I didn't do computers at university.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's just one of those things. Is you judge yourself by who you're surrounded with, and I think that the guys I work with, some of them are very clever and very like, oh yeah, you just run it through this arcane method, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
What the fuck is that?
And then you look, and then you go look at it and go, okay, that is insanely complicated, but it does seem to do exactly what I want. like I don't really understand it, but it is the, it is the tool for the job.
What I want is someone wiser than me to go, this is how you do it, and it to be really simple.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that's what you're after, but yeah, that's not often true, or not always true. It's just like, yeah, there is a solution for that. It's a bit hard to understand, but it will work. Yeah, although anyway, that's very little of my job these days, in fairness. Yeah. Don't deal with too much complexity at the moment.
But you do deal with new computers.
I do deal with new computers, yeah. We're recording on one right this second.
Wow.
Hopefully it will sound all right by the time I'm done with it, because plenty of things are going to have to change.
Well, recording... Well, not the recording method, but the
recording
we're
method.
sending the voices through to get Dan's voice at least is different.
Yeah, I mean, peek behind the scenes. Historically, we've used TeamSpeak to do this because, well, I've always liked how TeamSpeak's codec sounds. The Speaks codec or whatever. I've always thought that was pretty good. But in fairness, it's been many, many years. Well, it's been 15 years since we started doing this thing, and I think
literally using the same program and the same codec, I think.
Well, I think we upgraded.
Yeah, we upgraded to TeamSpeak 3.
Yeah, we did upgrade. Yeah.
So, and the codec version probably updated a few times with it, but yeah, it's but yeah, we're trialing Discord today, which, I mean, it sounds pretty good. I mean, honestly, I think other technologies have, they got there. They got there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just it was just TeamSpeak when we started that sounded nice, as far as I knew. But I think the other tech has definitely got there. It's just normal now to have a nice sounding audio codec in.
Maybe a bit of pressure from the older COVID lockdown to
maybe up their game.
Yeah.
Could well be. Yeah, so we're using that for the recording thing, which may have its own intricacies. Like if we lost you, Dan, you couldn't quietly come back in. We'd hear you.
If the call dropped, I'd have to call you.
yeah, exactly. We'd have to sort something out. Short of us creating a private room, or I don't, we're just using a call in Discord. There's ways around that potentially, but so there's that, and some of my audio processing chain. Oh boy, don't even get me started on like I knew some things were going to be really difficult in migrating to a brand new PC, but bits of software don't work on Windows 11 that I use on a relatively frequent basis, and I just have not been able to get certain apps to install. So I am going to have to mix things up a little bit. Might have to use Audacity for the final processing. I'm hoping I might be able to just do everything in. We use Mixcraft for recording, which is more of a DAW, a DAW for live recording. So I might be able to do it in that and mix it semi-live, but not live, if you know what I mean. Do it slightly differently. But there's a couple of effects I usually apply to the final production that I don't know how I'll do that way. So yeah, I'm gonna have to change my workflow a bit. Little things like that. Also, we were using in other things that don't work, like I have been using an ancient copy of Photoshop CS6 to do the graphics work for the videos and stuff like that. But Adobe, like not even it's not even an installation problem or anything like that. But Adobe have pulled the rug out underneath owners of CS6. And for those that don't know, CS6 was the last version of Photoshop made before Creative Cloud's subscription model.
Yeah.
So, Adobe turned the activation servers off. So now you can't install CS6 on another machine and activate it and have it work legitimately.
Even though you paid for it.
Even though you've got a perpetual license. Yep, you now just can't do it. So,
Wow.
I mean, in this particular instance, I guess I might need to go piracy and not feel bad about it.
You could always bring out the GIMP.
just learn to use GIMP.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they have recently updated to version
there's a new
3.
version.
Yeah. After, what was it, 20 odd years after GIMP 2 came out? Like, mate, so maybe now's the time to try it. Yeah, I mean, I do use it occasionally for stuff, but
it's what I used to make my thumbnails when I'm doing when I'm making the videos. So that's why my Satisfactory thumbnails look a bit different, because I couldn't exactly precisely figure out how to emulate Rob's style in GIMP, but that's probably because I didn't spend long enough trying it. But I was like, that's close enough.
yeah, sure. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter as long as it's just one of those things, you know. I after several years, it's like I've been getting into a bit of a flow with some of this stuff, and I can do some of it pretty quickly, and it's. And I'm gonna have to.
Well, I mean,
have to adjust my comfort zone. But
that is the thing about that kind of thing, where it's just like ideally you've set up a thing that just does stuff automatically once, and then it just works every time. That's like that is how you know. Obviously, I started doing it after Rob started doing it, but when I switched over to DaVinci as well, I was just like, oh yeah, I can just if I pre-set up all the things and like the like base project file or whatever, and import the things in the right order and that kind of stuff. It's like you just drop it straight in there and then almost not even have to do any work.
Yeah, leave the intro structure where it is. Have a nice little, not really a macro, but just one thing I need to change to sort the title out. Right, because I've got the title animation into a nice thing already. Yeah. The ending sequence is already a nice predefined clip, so I don't have to do anything with that. The only thing that's funky with us is, all the tracks and all the audio processing are all pre-set up. That all migrated actually pretty well. Actually, I had a pretty easy experience migrating DaVinci Resolve to the new machine. That was all right.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I sort of prepared ahead of time, so I had the main template I use exported. I had all the clips repositioned. All I had to really do was point Resolve at where all the clips were that it needed, and so that all migrated pretty well. My music environment, on the other hand, oh god! I mean, I knew that was going to be difficult. I knew that was going to be challenging, but good god, it's been awful, and it's not. I'm not even remotely near to getting it back to the condition it was in. Like, I've only managed to get a couple of projects fully loading without issue. And I say without issue. They all have their own little quirks. Like, so
each project, or?
Yeah, well, pretty much every project I've loaded so far has ended up with its own different little quirk. So, and that's true across different plugins as well. Some plugins just weren't happy moving to Windows 11, or at least they shouldn't have, according to the documentation I then read, they shouldn't have been happy moving to Windows 11. It's like, okay, fine, I'll update them. So you update that plugin, which then crashes the entire DAW whenever it tries to load it. And I'm like, okay, that's a problem. Let me just uninstall it and reset everything, and then I'll install the very latest version of that plugin, which is supposed to be good. No, that doesn't even get detected by the DAW. Okay, I kind of need that one. That one's used in a lot of projects. What do I do? For some reason, I decided to install the original version I had on my previous systems that did at least load but didn't work properly. And then mysteriously it started working. So the version they recommended me to use on Windows 11 to fix the problem I had experienced previously doesn't work. And if I was to just blindly find the installer for the latest version of it, it doesn't work. But because I've been a bit thorough and kept the installer for the version I had on my previous system, I could put that cleanly put that version back on. Although that's what I did in the first place, and it didn't work the first time. Second time it did. It's been a whole heap of issues like that, and just little things like this needs reinstalling, and then you realize, no, I'm not going to install it, and then you install something, and then it goes, right, I need licensing, and you're like, fine, I've got the license key for that, I'll plumb that in, and then it goes, nah, and you're like, what do you mean no? It's like, this is my license key, and it goes, nah, it's just not working, and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? It's super painful. There's some. Music VST land is horrible anyway, because you get 32 and 64-bit versions of VST2 type plugins, but you also get 32 and 64-bit versions of VST3 type plugins, and FL Studio wants to pick out the particular one you used on a project. So if I've pulled in a 32-bit one for some reason instead of the 64-bit version of the plugin, it will specifically go looking for the 32-bit version and go, no, I can't find it. And you're like, cock, okay, I need to try and figure out why that's not loading, see if I can load that in. Otherwise, I'm going to have to replace that and do that particular effect again, because it can't apply the settings to. Oh, it's just, yeah, it's. I've spent hours on it. There's like maybe 8 to 10 hours just on this week, just on trying to solve these sorts of problems, and I'm so far from done.
It's like a week's work or something.
Yeah, it's hideous. My new machine is dope.
Yeah,
all of that,
like?
All of that aside, my new machine is dope. Like, it's. I haven't really put it through its gaming paces particularly yet because of all the faffery.
Okay.
I was just so paranoid about getting everything back to how I'm comfortable, that I haven't lost anything, that kind of thing, that I haven't really tested it too much. But I edited a video in DaVinci on it this week, and that was so much smoother than using my previous machine. The render time is about 4 times faster than it used to be.
Nice. Which is what in minutes?
I think it was over an hour of footage, and it was about 14-minute encode.
Yeah, that's about what I was getting as well.
Yeah, which is pretty good. I'm rocking an AMD 99. What's it? Not the very latest X3D. Oh, I've forgotten what it is. I think it's a 9800 X3D. So it's a pretty powerful chip, and that's pretty good for DaVinci Resolve. Weirdly, Resolve is faster than Handbrake at video encoding, because I also use that to do that. And the export from DaVinci was like 5 minutes faster than Handbrake's encode, and it's like, that's bizarre.
Is Handbrake still really necessary at this point for your process?
Yeah, it shrinks the files to an adequate size.
I mean, I didn't have any problem opening the files directly in DaVinci from my recordings.
Yeah, maybe.
Presumably my OBS settings are different in some way.
Maybe.
I would imagine they're exactly the same.
Maybe, yeah. Historically, the reason why I handbrake stuff before we load it into the editing suite is to force it into a constant frame rate format, because I think NVENC through OBS has been had the option of losing frames here and there, which really didn't get on with older versions of DaVinci, at least, and it definitely didn't get on with Premiere Pro when I was using that for a while.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just been part of my workflow that I've just never drifted away from. But maybe you're right. Maybe I can just load the OBS outputs directly into it now, and we'll see what happens. Save me a step. But I do always handbrake the end product, right? Because the best results or at least the easiest results the less glitchy workflow I've come up with from DaVinci Resolve is always to have DaVinci just export it at best possible quality into a .mov, and then I'll handbrake the result of that into something that's a bit more, I'm going to be able to upload this, rather than it being like 30 gigs of file that I'm uploading to YouTube. Yeah, so the handbrake will still be involved, but maybe I can skip a step. Yeah, anyway, I found that mildly interesting. But that was nice and smooth now. No, DaVinci, no hitching. No hitching edition. It was easy as, which was nice. Yeah, same with the music environment. I've not had a single problem there in terms of
apart from the
compatibility. Yes, but raw power, not a problem anymore. It's beautiful. Gaming wise, the one thing I have done on it is I fired up a few things. The first thing was, it's like, okay, what have I got that is pretty easy for me to just chuck on this? I say pretty easy. It was still nearly 200 gigs of install, but that's for Forza Horizon 5. So I've chucked that on here. It doesn't have ray tracing during it, but it's pretty good raw rasterization test, I suppose. And I had Forza Horizon 4 had already run pretty well on my last machine on the GTX 1080. Not quite hitting 120 frames, but not being far from it at max settings. So I figured the jump to Forza Horizon 5, which I never played on my old system, it's like, that is quite a graphical leap between the two. And also, yeah, I like it to run as smooth as possible. It's a racing game. They always look and play better the more frames you can get. Yeah, it's no problem for this thing. I can max out the settings, not have it do any DLSS magic trickery or anything like that, and just absolutely crank it and have it run at 165 frames, which is the most my monitor can handle. And it's lovely. Whoa, it's flawless.
That's insane. That's crazy, man. That's a lot of frames.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5070 Ti in this thing. So, yes, I'm one of those people. I bought a very expensive graphics card because it was the only graphics card you could bloody buy. But I'm part of the problem, I'm aware. But I needed a new machine, so, there we go.
No, it was time. But
yeah, so that was pretty nice. The only other thing I tried, mainly for a CPU test more than anything, was Star Wars Rogue Leader, right? Through Dolphin, right?
Raw power the thing.
Yeah, okay. I wondered if you could brute force through some of the problems that thing has, and it's definitely better. It's still not perfect, but
yeah, we need quantum computing to actually run that.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot better than it was. There's still hitching in places, especially bringing up that targeting computer. There's still the pause that it makes when you do that is much shorter. But
it's lucky that you don't need that in the game.
Not really, no. So I've tried that as well, and that was, as I say, improved, but even this ridiculously much more powerful process at CPU can't solve that.
No.
So yeah, I've downloaded the Half-Life 2 RTX demo, so I'll give that a go soon. Cool. But I haven't tried
Back to Ravenholm. Maybe we should do a quick Back to Ravenholm.
Yeah,
special.
Ravenholmia. So I'll give that a little look. See. As I said, I've spent most of my time on the faffery around the edges at the moment, rather than
edge faffery.
Yeah, rather than actually enjoying it too much just yet.
So what's going to be the big looker game then?
I don't know.
To actually play.
I mean, spoilers for later on in the podcast. I've started playing Avowed. And that has a PC version with some ray tracing features. So I might install that so I could do the play anywhere thing, right? Play it on my Xbox sometimes.
You don't want to get too far into that and then have to start over.
No. But I'm pretty sure it will play anywhere. I think so I can jump between Xbox and PC. So that should be okay.
Cool. So we'll hear about that.
I just want to point out, we talked about this before the podcast, that Rob hasn't installed the controller for the RGB on his RAM.
Oh no! So yeah,
it's just doing rainbow pattern at the moment.
And I mentioned rainbow.
So I didn't go out of my way to buy RGB for this thing.
The RGB RAM.
Yeah, the components just
got lights on it.
I know, the components that were the best price just happened to have shit tons of lights on them.
LEDs all over them. For some reason.
So I went for an AIO cooler this time. So it's a water cooler, which does look pretty sweet. It has to be said, not having an enormous freaking air fan in there. It does look nice.
I guess. Yeah.
And just having the little.
It's really for the performance of it, right?
Oh yeah,
Is
and it does cool pretty well as far as I can tell. I've not had high temp anywhere near high temps on this thing while I've been trying a few things. But yeah, the cooler has the block, the pump itself has LEDs on it. The cooler itself, the radiator up the top has shit tons of LEDs on it, which I'm a little bit disappointed. Like the way the LEDs are placed is like obviously they shine on the fans, but they shine on the fan blades that point into the case. So I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't like hit the blades on both sides, so there's not a glow coming out the top of my case, because I thought that could have been kind of nice. But
I guess.
But yeah, it doesn't.
Assuming
do
it's
that.
definitely mounted the right way around.
I'm sure it's fine.
I mean, I think it can only be mounted that way round. So, I mean, I'm hoping. Oh, yeah, I'm going to check that. Hang on.
You should just be able to tell by the airflow.
I mean, yeah, there is definitely air pushing out the top of my case, so that's. So I think it's the right way round.
But the thing about these RGB lights that I'm watching on Rob's case is, I mentioned to him before the podcast that they're not synced up, which we speculated was because it turns on the RAM at a different time.
Yeah,
but they're actually not synced up because they're not the same speed.
Oh, aren't they?
Yep, they're moving in and out of sync gradually.
Okay, well that is kind of weird. Yeah, I'm not. It's Corsair Vengeance RAM, and I'm not running the software to directly address that RGB. I kind of like the fact that like Windows has its own dynamic lighting system now, Windows 11, so it's aware of this shit, and I can just make it white, please. That's kind of cool. That's the theme I'm going for with this machine. Just make it white.
But unfortunately, you're going to need to install a whole other thing to make your RAM white.
Make my RAM white, yeah. But like, well, I actually don't mind the fact that it adds a little tint to the bloom coming off the mesh. Like, I might just leave it. I might just leave it. But, the build with the fractal case was pretty smooth.
Nice.
Got to be said. That was pretty nice.
You were saying you've always had trouble with cabling in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I was a lot better with the cable management this time around. It still turns into a bit of a mess at the end of the build. Like the process during the early phases was fine, but I towards the end of the build, I started running to a few cases where some of the components I had just had cables that weren't quite long enough to neatly tuck away. Like the cables coming off the AIO cooler, for instance, not quite long enough for me to route them where I wanted to route them. So I had to make some compromises on that front. Same with the SATA leads that I had for linking off linking all the SATA points so I could plug in a few of my old hard drives. They didn't quite reach where the mounting points were in the case. So I had to just take shortcuts there a little bit. Top tip: definitely put your SATA cables in before you install your damn graphics card with this motherboard. For reference, I have the X870 Aorus. Oh, hang on, this is a mouthful. Let me see if I can remember it. The X870 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi Ice, I think it's called.
Ice, okay.
Ice because it's the white version of the board. Yeah.
Not the regular rank, it's only the Elite.
Just to make it really confusing, the Elite version is actually the less good version. The Pro version is the more good version, that's the wrong way round to me. But yeah, the SATA connectors, or SATA, I don't even know how you're supposed to say that. They are right where the graphics card sits. So I had mounted the graphics card and everything and got the system up and running and started configuring just to make sure everything was okay, right, and things like that. And then I thought, right, let's move these hard disks over, and it's like, I can't do that. I can't get my fingers to push the cables into the right place because this bloody graphics card's in the way. Okay, let's unmount that. Let's get all the cables in. I put more cables than I needed in, just thinking like, oh, if I need to mount another drive later, it's like, no, I've got the cables already there. It's fine. Yeah, I did that in the wrong order, really. That was a bit of a pain. Also, like, that's going to be another pain in the ass if I ever upgrade with more M2 drives. It's like the graphics card covers the other M2 bays. There's an
okay.
there's an enormous metal heatsink cover.
So you have to take it out.
I'll have to take the graphics card out to get to all but the primary M2 bay.
But they'll still fit. You just have to take the whole thing up.
Oh yeah, there's three more M2 bays in there that I'm not even using, so it's plenty of plenty of space to expand into, which is nice.
So much room for activities.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm just glad it all arrived. I had to fight eBuyer a little bit because they didn't have the motherboard, but they didn't tell me they didn't have the motherboard. I noticed on the day that it was supposed to all be delivered that they hadn't told me it was going to be delivered. Right. And I'm like, what's going on? So I checked my order and then noticed so the motherboard and the cooler hadn't arrived yet. So I looked it up and was like, I looked up the cooler and it's like, okay, now you've got that and your website clearly says it's in stock. So why haven't you decided to ship this yet? I then went and tried to do the same thing with the motherboard, and the link that would take me to the motherboard's product page was now broken. And the motherboard no longer existed on the website at all. And it's like, oh, well, that's suspicious. So, top tip, don't email them. They won't answer for a couple of days. Ring them, which is what I did. I ended up calling them because I was excited about getting my PC. I was like, where's my shit, yo? Your order doesn't say you've even moved this past the we've received your order state. Like, they haven't even done anything with those 2 bits. What's going on? And they were like, oh yeah, we don't have that. I'm like, well, why didn't you bloody tell me? Like, was this order going to sit here indefinitely?
Right. So what did they do?
I told them to cancel the motherboard because I could get it off Amazon for the same price. So I did that.
Okay. Bought it from Amazon.
And then it all arrived the next day. And it's like the cooler arrived next day and the Amazon order arrived next day. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, I probably should have just done that then.
Well fucking spotted.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ugh. But yeah, it's the thing of beauty.
And so far, the USB works.
So the USB has been perfect. Yes, I have not I have not had a single USB related problem just yet.
We'll see.
I will chime in on pretty much everything you said about Windows 11 last time, though, Zach.
Right.
It's a bit of a disaster, isn't it? Windows 11. It's like it feels like like it's fine, it works, but like the user experience feels like a significant step back from Windows 10. Like, the new start bar sucks. Like, it's really bad.
I mean,
why did they do that?
It's because it looks vague. To me, I think they made the start bar how it is now because it vaguely looks like the Apple.
Yes, it does. But
system.
Why is that good?
It's not good. Like I don't like it.
I use Mac OS and I like it, but like I don't care about the stupid.
Well, I don't even think they're
dock. That's what it's called. Right?
Sure, but I don't even think their copy of App Center, whatever it is on the Mac side. I don't like them. Well, yeah, ignoring the whole Mac bar at the bottom of the screen, which is I've never really liked. But aesthetically, I like it, but practically, I don't like it.
I have it completely auto hidden at all times.
Right? Yeah,
dock. But I most people don't, and it's like it's taking up half your fucking screen. What are you doing? Yeah,
it's huge. But the start bar is more like App Center, right? In Mac OS,
right, yeah, Launchpad thing.
Launchpad, that's it. Yeah.
Mission Control and Launchpad. I don't know.
Whatever it's called, I don't know. But
I don't even use Launchpad.
But I think the Apple implementation is better because it. In a weird sort of like backwards logic, it's a bit more Windows 80, right? The Mac one, because it like fills the screen. The icons are nice and big and chunky, and for some reason it feels manageable to navigate that thing. Whereas the limited space of the Windows 11 start bar, you can't expand it, so you can't make it bigger like you could in Windows 10. You can't make the amount of space that shows in bigger. The icons are weirdly tiny. And Like, I'll just pull up on screen just so I can see what I'm looking at. But like, yeah, the icons.
I'm looking at
icons,
Launchpad on my Mac, and it's like I never use it ever, and it's totally useless to me because I haven't customized it, so it just has
right. Yeah,
all
it's just
default
a
Mac
mess
apps on it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, do you want GarageBand? It's like, or iMovie? It's like probably.
it's like,
not.
oh, I have those installed.
Yeah, I didn't even know I had that. There's a little blue circle next to GarageBand. I wonder if that means it needs updates or something. I have no idea.
It's probably got a notification of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. God. Anyway.
But yeah, I think the icons are far too small. There's weirdly, like, it allocates more space to the text than it does the icon. I just want the big square ass customizable clickable tiles back, man, because I liked making the things I used more often massive. And the things I don't really use, like a nice small just an icon. It's like, I know what it is. I recognize the icon. I don't need the text. But you just can't customize that. I also don't like the recommended area. I want to be able to turn that off completely and just dedicate this whole thing to pin spaces. But you can't turn it off completely. You can you can reduce it to one line where it will say, oh, you just added this app. Do you want to use it? And it's that used to be neatly tucked away in the search or that left-hand section of the old start bar, right? So you'd have your tiled area, but then it would still give you like a recent something at the top of that list, but then have the traditional folder list, the old start bar right under it. So you had the best of every world in the old start bar design, and this new one kind of sucks. I don't know. I did add all the buttons to the bottom of it to be like, well, these are your like system-y sort of shortcuts. So you don't have to have like icons for them taking up the pin space.
Yeah, I guess I should probably do that because really there's nothing in there. I mean, I don't even use that. I don't use the start button at all, basically, apart from the Xbox app, which I still haven't. I should just pin that to the taskbar and then I'll be done.
Sure, yeah.
That's basically all I need.
I think, yeah, because my problem is that, like, for most people, I suppose, the number of apps they actually realistically use is probably a fairly small number.
Yeah.
That's just not true for me. No. Like, I use a boatload.
Although the other problem that I will say about it is, like, I think maybe... I feel like when I first went in there and tried to clean it up or whatever from its default state, like I feel like I've deleted pins of apps and then I'm just going to forget those even exist. like the pre-installed apps even that Windows has. Yeah. Like I deleted the pins and then I'm just never going to remember that those are
they're actually installed.
Yeah, you even have an option, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like where else would I see that exists?
You'd have to go to add remove, I suppose.
Yeah, probably.
Go to that interface. Yeah, so there's that.
Look at this launchpad thing, and the icons are gigantic. And the best one by far is, speaking of, Handbrake. It's got like a super detailed pineapple and a cocktail glass with a cocktail stick with a little olive on it and a little paper parasol and a twist of lemon. It's like, that's the most busy icon I've ever seen.
It's pretty good. I like it because it's just like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Okay, that's Handbrake. Yeah. Anyway, it's quite fun. It made me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other little things about 11 I don't like. Like the new notification center is fine, I guess. That's okay. But it took me a while to realise that it's under the clock. But Zach told me that's a pretty recent change.
Yeah, that's like one of the last updates they did. For some reason, they just merged it into the clock button instead of it being a separate thing.
Yeah, so that seems all right. I don't like that they've merged network and sound into one thing. Okay, that's a mild annoyance for me in particular because I'm changing sound devices fairly frequently. Yes, so it sort of adds an extra click to the process. It's like, that's just one extra click. That's not so bad. I kind of agree with Zach's comments he made about the right-click menu, the right-click context menu being kind of weird.
And you've got the fixed version where they put the text back, so you don't just have icons.
But I noticed some really strange oddities, like so when you right-click a file and you don't have, and you're starting from scratch, you right-click a file, you get the top of that context menu now has big icons for cut, copy, paste, and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, it always had the icons; they just weren't words. They just weren't words. Before.
Yeah, but so now they're labelled, which is fine. But I probably would have been fine without the labels. Like they're not. I know what those icons are. It's fine. But what I noticed is that if I copied something later on, if I went to a folder and right-clicked it. The only option that would appear was paste. it wouldn't give me the option to cut copy or anything like that because it knew I had something copied previously. So the context had
So
gone.
it's trying to stop you from like overwriting your copy.
My clipboard, yeah, which was
Maybe
Surely
right?
surely if you'd right-clicked on empty space, the only thing you could do was paste.
if I was empty space, yeah, but it wasn't. I wanted to copy another file, and it's like because I hadn't done the action from the last one, and it's I hadn't pasted the last thing I copied, and then so that context, like I'm assuming that's a bug. I'm assuming that's not intentional behavior, but like that stood out to me as like, okay, that's a little weird.
That's weird.
You can at least get back to the old context menu by hitting either
Which also sucks.
either via an extra click by hitting show more options and then the old context menu appears, or you can shift right click and that will bring up the old context menu, a little bit like an options click, I suppose, in Macland. It would, that would have been a nicer transition, right? If I could push Alt or something whilst the context menu is open and it toggled between the two menus a little bit like like the Mac's options change when you hold the options key.
Like I know it's not.
I shouldn't be shouting Mac's praises. That's still an extra step that just doesn't need to exist. But
like I know it's not a thing that normal people use that much, but I still find it weird that like properties is not in the default menu any longer. You have to go to the old one.
That is annoying. I've run into that multiple times
like
already.
File properties.
Yeah.
What?
Because it used to always be the very bottom item
list,
of the normal context menu, but now that's not. I guess for the same reason, they just don't think that's something that normal users, quote unquote, do very often. But yeah, so now it's buried into that more options.
And that more options thing is continuing the grand Windows tradition of it just looking like the old one.
It's the old one.
It's not even updated to look like the new UI.
No, it is just the old menu. It's like, and it's even got the old context.
Because then it makes you. I know it's true, and everyone knows it's true, but it makes it feel like you've just got a new coat of paint on top of the same thing. Which is true, but it has been true of Windows since the 1980s.
Yeah, that is, ever since 95, right? Everything they've done on top of it has had some amount of 95 still in it. It's
really NT, isn't it? The one when they started, that was new, right? Even though it looked like 95, that was actually the basis for all the modern ones.
Sure, yeah, but it has the graphic style from 95, right?
It has the graphic style from 95, yeah.
It's like I did. It's like it made me laugh, like because one of the earliest things I did was fire up the disk management tool, right? And you go into that, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the crudest bloody interface in here. Like, but it's functional and it works, and I have no problem with that. But it's like they didn't touch that at all, did they? It's the same old thing. One of the funniest things that's bothered, like I still can't believe hasn't changed, is you can go into the personalization, you can go into the display properties, right? You can dig down, and then eventually you'll find a button called screensaver. Remember screensavers? You click that, and it takes you to the same interface that's been there since Windows 95. Like, it's the same goddamn dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's like, I find that hilarious that stuff's still there. And it's like, but then when you go in the network settings and things like that, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, bring back the control panel. It's so much easier to work with than this shit.
But in some ways, you can still get to the control panel.
Bits of it still exist, yeah. It's so weird. I can't believe they just haven't done a full pass on it. Like,
well, that's the actual problem, is that they don't think they need to do a full pass, which is why things like properties get bumped off the main list into the old list. They don't think people want that any longer, but no.
I mean, it would be really nice to know. Like, there is probably some very quirky compatibility reason for why they don't do this stuff, right? There's some setting that something interacts with in a way that needs to actually have the old system to do it.
Yeah.
But I would really like to know what those are, because ultimately you're using them through Windows. Like, it's normally user to Windows. It's not normally something, as far as I'm aware, not normally some other app talking to these UIs, right? It's like it could all theoretically be consolidated without changing any of the underlying APIs that drive it all, right? It's purely a visual and UI thing at this point.
Right.
But
it's like maybe they coupled the code for the UI with the shell code.
Yeah, maybe.
At some point that is too big a project to untangle.
Yeah.
There must be a project going on, probably a multi-year project going on to untangle that so they can actually change it. But maybe it hasn't borne fruit yet.
Yeah, they just don't. I mean, this has been a problem since which OS? I guess 8 was the one to start this process, right? Windows 8 was the one to start saying, yeah, we should probably do something about our old UI elements. But
because that was the one where they were trying to go full touch, right? Where the
or at least make it usable that way. Yeah,
yeah. And everyone hated it, right?
8 was okay.
We'll know it's an actual real new version of Windows when you can name a folder con.
Right.
Yeah. Nah, that'll never happen.
No. Yeah, so 11's a mixed bag. Like here's a good one. I need to show Zach this one so he understands what I'm talking about a little bit. This drives me up the wall. So let me just collapse it to the starting point. So, you know, in Windows Explorer, right, you get that left-hand thing that has basically a list of like your local drives, essentially, and this PC and stuff like that. You have a whole bunch of bullshit above that I really want to try and figure out how to get rid of. I don't need this home folder, whatever. There's all these gallery link. Like, what the crap are those? Like, can I get rid of those, please?
Is this like the modern kind of My Documents,
Well, kinda, but like my doc still exists, but it's now
sidebar of File Explorer, basically.
Yeah, and I think don't get me wrong, I don't think the Mac sidebar is particularly good either for this sort of thing.
No.
Like sidebars in File Explorer seem kind of rubbish. Linux's file structure is just somewhat indecipherable anyway, so it's not any more easy there. But yeah, they documents is now documents, pictures, videos, as it always has been. Some recent folder list. Stuff like that. It's just clutter, essentially. Get that out of the way. But then below that, you actually get kind of what you want, which is the folder structure of your machine.
Yeah.
Except the top level, so I'm going to read this out. I have 3 external hard drives installed, which weirdly report 4 volumes. I'm not quite sure why the 4th one exists. Well, I need to sort that at some point. But so I get this PC. I then get my G, E, D, and H drives listed, and then network. There's one thing missing from that list. Where the bloody hell is the C drive? Right? So I now click this PC and open and expand that up. Oh, and guess what I see? I see the C drive and every single one of those drives again. Like, why is it duplicated?
Well, I can understand why you would have the C drive visible from the start, because that's, again, with the Windows being like, we don't want users to fuck around with the system drive, so we're going to hide it.
I get that.
Under at least one layer.
It's potentially trying to be a little bit user-friendly, but
then in order for that to work that way, you have to have all the other drives visible outside that fold.
Because they belong to your PC. Like, it's... I would just like put all of them under this PC. Like, that would be my choice. Would just like, if you need to split this PC and network up into 2 separate categories, all your drives should just be folded into this PC, which shows all of them anyway. Like, it's it's a weird design choice for it to default to.
I mean, it should be like, if they want to hide the C drive, it should be one step further into this PC rather than
maybe, yeah,
having the other drives one step further out.
Or it should just potentially just be hidden and be like one of those things where it's like, well, you can show this if you want. Like, have a little hint in there to be like, you can show your C drive if you want. We don't recommend it if you're just a document user, but a weird thing. I don't know. That seems like an ill thought through decision. Anyway, the new Explorer is fine. I don't mind. The tabs are fine. The fact that we now have tabbed Explorer is nice. I like that.
Cool.
I haven't had any problem networking to my old machine, that kind of stuff. Everything seems to have been working just fine. I had one crash. I had one Explorer crash. A window just froze on me. I don't know why. I had to go to Task Manager to close that Explorer instance, and because I turn on the Launch Explorer windows in a separate process thing, so I could do that without disrupting Windows too much. Yeah, so I've had one Explorer crash, but that's kind of normal. And, that doesn't seem any worse than it used to. Anyway, sorry, I should stop ranting. This is a podcast about video games.
Yeah, you did buy that thing to play games as well.
Yeah, and that will come. That will come,
and that will be coming. But for now, we better talk about the news about the games that are happening at the moment.
So not really. Shit all news.
Yeah, it's not
going on.
There's not a lot too much interest to us anyway happening at the moment. The thing I wanted to talk about was shortly after our last podcast, there was another leak from the leaky ship Microsoft. This time about Project Kennan. So we sort of knew a while ago that, again from another leak, that Microsoft were starting to look into the idea of a handheld. We now have a better idea about what their plan is. So, theoretically, later this year, there will be an Xbox-branded handheld that is going to be built in partnership with Asus, or Asus, if you prefer to pronounce it.
Interesting.
So the thinking is that it's going to be, I don't think, well, Asus, they already make a handheld, right? They make the ROG Ally. So an Xbox branded one of those probably isn't too much of a stretch for Asus to make.
No. They've already got one that's compatible with the Steam Deck software, right? Or OS.
Well, yeah, right? I think they can. I believe the Steam OS can be installed on the ROG Allies.
Yeah,
instead of Windows, or in addition to Windows, one of the two. You have the ability to do that. I don't think there's any one of those handhelds released yet that actually has Steam OS out the box. Right, I think the Legion Go S is going to be the first, but that's not out yet.
Not out yet, yeah.
So they're already in that space. They already run Windows. They're already pretty good devices. So that kind of makes sense. What's most interesting about that, though, is like that it's Microsoft trying to make a push for an Xbox front end, a consoleized Xbox front end running on Windows, is how everyone sees this potentially going. Like, have they finally got a decent OS that, or not OS, a front end a bit like Steam Big Picture?
Well, yeah, I mean,
that can run on.
That's what I would assume it is. It's just like they're just going to update the Xbox app or whatever on Windows, and it would just look like that. Yeah, probably. So it can. Well, even if it just looks like the Xbox OS, right? Then that's fine, right? And then you can use it like a console. But we haven't really heard anything from that. But just like that is the assumption that they've done that work, that we're finally there. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting, right? That means that it also helps cement the recent conversation that Xbox has been trying to push. And it's like, yeah, we're still going to make Xboxes, but yeah, play your games wherever you want, man. It's like that. It just means Xbox are going to have to do the work to perhaps make any device an Xbox. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be something? if PlayStation 5 got Game Pass, man, it would never happen. But that would be. Guess not. But that would kick ass.
One thing that I saw, which was a screenshot. I'm not sure how this was related to the Kennan thing, like the leak, or whether this was a separate one, or whether this was an official screenshot at some point. Although apparently it maybe got taken down / changed. But it was a mock-up of the the Xbox UI that they're apparently trying to make. But in the, I guess what you like the search, not in the search bar, but where it highlights words like how YouTube does, like potentially searchable terms, I guess. One of them was just Steam.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, is that in some way implying that you could search for your Steam games through the Xbox app, and then it would just put them in that in there, so you could just essentially launch.
I mean, I wonder if they've added some capability like Steam does to launch external apps.
Yeah,
right?
potentially.
So, like, maybe that would just be a launcher for Steam Big Picture in some way.
But it was just funny that, like, after the whole, Windows Store situation where they were like, no, fuck Steam, and it's just like, it just says Steam in this screenshot from of the Xbox UI.
I mean, the assumption is like maybe they're taking like a lesson from Valve to an extent and be like, look, these devices you're going to be able to put Steam on them, right? They're just running Windows. You're going to be able to put Steam on them. So let's not hold you as a user back. If you want to do that, fine. The Xbox ecosystem will be the default. It will be how this thing perhaps boots, right? By default, like it'll probably boot into this interface. You'll be very mildly obscured from it, but if you want to do it, it's there. Why not? And that's Valve's approach to the Steam Deck, right? It's like Valve's approach to the Steam Deck has just always been, hey, we just built this device. It's like, you can do what you want with it. Like, we've given you SteamOS, and like, this is how we would prefer you to use it, and this is how we support it, but you want to mess with it? You want to put other OSs on it? You can put Windows on a Steam Deck. Like, you can do that.
Sure.
Like, so, you want to do that other thing? Yeah, go nuts. Do your thing.
Maybe they can put this Xbox UI app onto the Switch. They're going to occasionally have games on the Switch.
Yeah.
Not really the same thing, I don't think.
So this, I guess for comparison with the rest of the market, we still don't really know what Sony's plans are. We know they have plans for they're rumoured to have plans to re-enter the handheld business after taking some time out after Vita, I suppose.
They've got that weird thing for the PS5 streaming thing.
The Portal,
Yeah, the Portal, yeah.
Yeah, it's not really the same thing, but
no, it's not, no. It's
so
for playing PS5 when you're on the loo, right?
That's exactly what it's for.
House,
yeah.
Right, yeah. So weird.
The poop controller.
The poop controller, yeah.
We don't know what they're up to. And obviously Switch 2 will come out sometime this year.
Hopefully.
The handheld market
We're about to find out, right? When's that thing?
Come out. April, yeah.
Yeah, early April.
Nearly there.
Probably not before the next podcast, I'm guessing.
I want to say it's 3rd of April, right?
Oh, well, it might be before the next podcast then.
Yeah.
One or the other. It's either going to be slightly before or immediately after the next podcast.
Yeah, can't remember off the top of my head, but it's pretty soon. Exciting.
Evan? No. Don't know the date.
Let Dan figure that out in the background.
Maybe.
Anyway, so the handheld market is hot right now. Final bit of information we know April 2nd, okay. Yeah, a little bit earlier than I thought. Final bit of information we know from this Xbox leak is that this Xbox branded Asus model isn't the end of it. That's just what they're doing this year, in theory. There will eventually, according to this plan, be a Microsoft-built one of these. Which again makes sense, because that's Microsoft's strategy with the Surface as well, right? Microsoft still make their own devices. As a kind of premium brand, I suppose, within the Windows ecosystem. But it makes sense for them to make their own eventually. They're just not rushing into it. There we go. That's what's happening. And that's pretty much
basically all that's happening.
Yeah, that's basically all I really cared about in terms of the news. People love Split Fiction. There's all that. I thought it was kind of fun that Joseph Fares turned up. There's a secret super hard level in Split Fiction that if you complete, you get a video from Joseph Fares saying "well done." But actually, there was a competition attached to it. So the first person to tweet that they had done it, or show proof that they had done it, I can't remember exactly what they won, but it was like they're going to be involved with Haze Light Games on the next project in some way.
They are goddess.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. It's a Peter Molyneux all over again. But no, it's not like they're going to run Goddess or anything like that. It's not going to be like that sort of promise. But it's like, yeah, that was a pretty cool thing to do. That was a pretty cool little Easter egg in that game. An actual competition. Kind of all I got.
Cool. I guess that's the news.
News!
It's time for what you've been playing. What have you been playing, Zach?
Well, this podcast might turn out to literally, actually, for real, be shorter this week because I haven't played
Really?
nothing, basically.
Really? Wow.
That's unusual.
I played a fair amount of Balatro still.
Yeah,
But not like, I think super hardcore or anything.
Finished my first green run.
I'm up to black now.
Ooh,
I finished a
okay.
black one. Well, no, I guess I'm up to blue, technically, because I finished the black
You finished
one.
black, yeah.
But yeah. That's where it starts to get kind of...
Have you done all the decks that
No.
you could have access to?
Well, I've done all of the decks in white, at least.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I've kind of stuck with the Zodiac deck.
Right.
That seems like quite an easy one to progress up the difficulty.
I mean, I forget whether it was the green unlock or the black unlock, but the one where it just, every time you defeat the boss, you get a double tag.
Oh, okay.
That's funny, but that's annoyingly, I played that deck 3 times because I was like, okay, so obviously the way to make this deck ridiculous is you just stash up the double tags from beating the bosses until you see negative, and then just get like,
Oh my gosh,
8
yes.
negatives.
Oh, that's really good.
But it never came up. Every one of those runs, negative has never been a tag that I could get. So I just had this huge pile of double tags that I didn't get to use on anything.
What a bummer.
Yeah, it sucks. But if you do get that should just be an instant win, essentially.
Well, you might still get terrible jokers.
Sure, but you'll be able to have like so many of them. even if it's just like the generic joker that gives you +4, that's still
It's +4 for free.
And it was one of those things where it was like, you don't know how it works until you actually do it, where it's just like, if you have multiple double tags stacked up, it triggers all of them on the next tag you skip. So they all turn into the same tag.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. I've never had more than one at once. So it doesn't just take one off the top for the next tag you get. Well, that's fun.
Which might have been better in a way if you could do it that way.
Maybe,
where you only had to spend one of them. But no, they just all go. So on the runs where I didn't get the negative tag, I've just been like, well, I guess I'll just have every shot from here on just give me free jokers. Maybe just 3 rare jokers or whatever. Get that tag and multiply it. Except the trouble with that is if you do that too late in the run, you don't even get to use all those tags.
No. You don't always want the rares that it comes... The rares are quite specific, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like specific use cases.
Yeah. Just keep hunting for the baseball card, really. That's the easiest one to get generic.
Baseball card is good.
Unless, of course, you don't have any uncommon jokers, in which case it's pointless. But yeah, I've just been working on...
Got the baseball card and then got the negative, dump.
Yeah,
That could be fun.
I've basically been working on... I haven't been working on actually making progress for, doing the higher stakes or to unlock the new decks or anything. I've mostly just been doing low stake runs where it's easy just to unlock the last few jokers that require specific conditions to unlock. Like I did the speedrun ones.
Oh, did you?
Where you just win in 12 rounds. Which isn't too difficult. It seems bad at the start because 12 rounds means you have to fight every boss fight, so that's 8.
Yeah.
So that means you only have 4 extra to play.
Which means your money influx is going to be fairly small.
Well, and you don't get to access the shop basically ever.
Yeah.
Also, after the boss fights, obviously. But
yeah, that's tricky.
But yeah, if you that is obviously quite dependent on what tags you get because if you skip because you're skipping basically all of them, if you get a helpful combination, get the one that just gives you money a couple of times and then go into a shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed that. Well, I think I managed that on the first try.
Oh, okay.
It's if you actually just try and do it, it's it might just work. But yeah, then I did a couple of the other ones. I think the only ones I haven't still done is discarding 5 jacks because I've never built a deck that's had that many jacks, basically. I did try and do it, but then I had, like, 13 jacks, but I just never had 5 at once to get rid of, even when I intentionally started discarding looking for it, and they just never got to 5.
It never came out, yeah.
Which kind of sucked, and then that run just ended. Well, I won, but then failed out in the endless area.
Yeah.
And I haven't got the one for discarding a royal flush, mainly because I keep forgetting to look for that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because if you're not playing a flush deck to start with, obviously you're not going to be looking for that anyway.
No.
But even when you are playing a flush deck, it's like you're probably not going to notice because you've built the flush deck to just make any flush really easily, so you're not specifically trying to get the royal flush.
Sure, yeah. Or you're actively avoiding it.
Well, yeah, if your modifiers are weird. But yeah, I think those are the only 2 specific things that I have to do now. Apart from, I still haven't got 2 of the legendary jokers because I haven't seen the soul card for forever.
No, I haven't seen it in bloody ages.
Hopefully that has like a hidden weighting to make it so that I will get those 2 rather than it just being fully random and I'll just keep getting the 3 that I've already had before. That would suck. I guess I should start playing the spectral deck some more because, that's how you get the spectral cards easier. I assume if you're playing the spectral deck that the soul one can still appear as one of the ones you can buy in the shop. I'm guessing it's not limited to only appearing in the packs.
Don't know. Can't say I've ever seen it there.
Yeah, I mean, you would only see it if you were playing that deck. And I do find it slightly weird that the black hole counts as a spectral card, even though it comes from planet packs.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, I've cleaned up, in terms of the collection, it's like I've cleaned up all of the different cards.
I wonder if that's to stop it from. Isn't there one ability or one voucher or one joker or something? I can't remember exactly what it is. Where if you're holding planet consumables, that adds a multiplayer to that hand type. So if you held a black hole card.
Well, but that would be cool then.
Yeah, I mean, it would be rad, but I wonder if it's to stop that.
Well, it wouldn't even be that powerful. Well,
unless you got your consumables up and you had loads of them, but that's pretty unlikely.
It wouldn't be that powerful because in the case that you're using that joker anyway, you're likely built onto a specific hand regardless. You're not just playing any hand and hoping to get 1.5 times multiplier of it.
Oh, yeah, true. It's a bit of a strange strategy to allow it. Oh, yeah, it's fine. I'll just be loose. I'll allow every hand to be good. That's quite difficult.
But yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's just those unlock conditions. Not that. Oh, and the other thing is, I don't think there's any reason to do it, but when I'm getting into, once you've won the run and you're into the endless area, it's just, just buy jokers that you would never use just to discover them. I don't think that matters, but you might as well.
Oh, yeah, I do that. Yeah. I definitely have been doing that, yeah. It's just I'll just put that in the team for no reason.
And then sell it
again immediately sell it, yeah.
If you have the space, even. Oh, wait, there is one that I haven't done that has specific goals. I haven't done the one for never having more than 4 jokers.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I've not done that either.
Which really shouldn't be that difficult if you just get some moderate luck.
I mean, there's always one joker in your team most of the time, there's always one joker in the team where you sort of know it's I could do without that.
Yeah.
But you keep it because it is just that little bit more, right? It gives you that little bit extra.
I wonder if the unlock condition for that counts negatives, because they're technically -1.
Huh. Yeah. I wonder. Probably not.
No, probably. But yeah, I think that's really mostly all I played, apart from a tiny bit. Well, new season of Rocket League.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's time for the new season. Get those champion unlocks, maybe, if I stay in champion long enough to get what after I've grind through all the lower tiers.
So one of the weirdly satisfying things I did when I migrated some hard drives, was I went on a mass uninstall.
Okay.
Just clicking through everything and being and there was a slight moment where it's just oh yeah, Rocket League's still installed. I better uninstall that. And
Like what I did with TF2.
yeah. It's just like, I haven't
You've
played that.
uninstalled TF2?
Yeah,
Wow.
ages ago at this point. But
End of an era.
Yeah, but I ended up saving
one day
about...
you'll be uninstalling Rocket League.
maybe.
I ended up saving about half a terabyte on uninstall.
Well, that just tells you that you should just uninstall things when you're done with them.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? I had so much stuff that I didn't realize was taking up that much space. And it's like, oh god, right. Admittedly, I had things like Valorant and Fortnite still installed, and things like that. And it's like, I haven't played those for a while. They could go.
Oh, and speaking of that new season of Rocket League, once again, at this point in Rocket League, they've made an actual gameplay change.
Wait, what?
Where now when the ball hits the post or the crossbar, it makes a ding, so you can tell that it's hit that and been diverted.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
I mean,
it's small, but like, yeah, it's cool.
It's like just one of those random things where it's just like they've decided to make this change at this point in this game's history.
Yeah, well, I mean,
after all this time,
that's kind of neat.
After the previous change when they made the explosions sound different if it's your teammates,
right? Yeah,
and then the teammate boost bar, so you can see how much boost your teammates have. All these little changes are just like, this is so late in this game, but they're cool, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean that's. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that does add an element of awareness to what the ball might be doing, but it's one of those things where it's sort of like, oh yeah, they probably should have just done that originally, right? It would make a cool donk as it hits the. It could even be a little visual flare around the pole when it hits that part of the goal. They could be
ripple.
Something.
That'd be pretty cool on the cage.
Yeah, something like that.
And hilariously, as always, there's a new map, and it's literally never come up.
Oh, okay.
I still haven't seen it.
Brilliant.
That's Rocket League. Yeah, I guess that is kind of everything I've played.
What's the reason, Zach? Like, are you searching for something to play, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been feeling like
Avowed.
It's one of those. Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I suppose that's in your wheelhouse, right?
It's more Zach's wheelhouse than mine.
Yes.
Shit like that. Yeah.
I keep thinking about that, but then I've also been like, I've. It's been annoying where I've hit the point of being like, I want to go back into one of the. Well, like, it's a feeling of like, I want to build things, but I don't know what kind of building I want to do. And then I'm like, I should go back to maybe Factorio and finish that off because I never did finish that, or go back to Satisfactory because obviously I never finished that either. But then the problem with Satisfactory is that they've just teased the 1.1 patch, so I'm like, I can't.
Oh yeah, wait for that.
Can't go back into that until that comes out. And then weirdly, the main thing that I keep thinking about is Minecraft. But I'm just like, oh god, I don't want to deal with having to install goddamn Java Minecraft again. So
we talked about just before we went on air, but would something like. Was it Jurassic Park Evolution 2? Does that count as building? Is that? I know it's not it's not nearly the same thing.
Well, sure.
It's like,
well, yeah,
it's not a factory game.
I mean, that was. I've also been thinking about I
only mentioned because it's currently free on Epic Games.
Yes, so. I should probably actually. For a moment, I had to try and remember whether I had already installed Epic on this new PC, and I think I have.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did because of the whole Rocket League situation. Right. Yes. But yeah, I should get that and maybe play it if that is the thing that takes the feeling. But yeah, that is kind of in the same vein.
2 Point Museum.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. But it's like all these things are kind of in
that got amazing reviews, by the way.
Yeah, it did.
2 Point Museum. Yeah, people love that.
It's all in the right vein, but I just haven't been able to make a decision. Whenever I think about Jurassic World or whatnot, I'm like, I should go back and play Planet Coaster again because my machine will actually be able to run it reasonably well now.
Do you have Coaster 2?
No, I don't have Coaster 2 because that one turned out not great apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was quite weak, as we suspected from the previews, where it's just like this seems like it should just be a DLC for Planet Coaster 1,
right? Because I think that's the same deal with Jurassic Park Evolution 1 and 2.
Yes.
2 is a very small addendum to the first one.
But since I've never played 1,
it's fine. Yeah, go into 2, you won't care. Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely the situation I've been in, where it's just like a bit of indecision about which one of these games I want to start up again. or start new, possibly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
But that's why Balatro exists.
Well, yep, exactly.
It's very good at that. It's like, I don't know what to do. I'll just play Balatro.
Except not 5 minutes.
No.
Never 5 minutes.
It's incredibly good at filling whatever gap you have.
And theoretically, that's why I made that bit at the top of my Steam list, where it's like pin the things that I haven't got to that I probably should play. But even that's not helping.
Yeah.
Well, putting it in your eye line every time.
Yeah, exactly. At the top of the list, you always see it.
I got a bunch of stuff installed to the Steam Deck that I just haven't touched, and it's like, no, this is my hit list. I want to play these, and it's like I just haven't. Since I've owned the Steam Deck, I installed a bunch of these, and it's just like I think Proto Corgi was the only one I've actually touched out of that list.
There's even like a couple of demos in there that I still haven't got around to. Where it's like this isn't even a real game. You just play this for like basically an hour.
Yeah, if that. Yeah, give it a couple minutes.
Yeah. I think the one that I installed recently was that game called Kennan, because it's basically it's basically Jusant, only hard mode, where it's like now you control all the limbs. So I wanted to see about that, but whether I will or not, who knows? It's there in the list. It's there in my eyesight. That's all I need to talk about, I think, probably.
Alrighty.
All right. I guess it's your turn then, Rob. What's going on?
So I ain't got a huge amount either. As I said, I spent most of this week faffing with New Machine, but rather than actually playing things. But what I did... I'll talk a little bit more about Forza Horizon 5, because I did think, as I say, I played it for a bit, and it's like... I think it's interesting to talk about immediately off the back of Forza Horizon 4, and it's like... I find it really weird that 5... I've put so much more time into 5 than I did 4, and I don't really know why, because now I'm going to... Okay, I do kind of understand why. Like, my initial experience with Forza Horizon 4, I was only really playing it when I got the steering wheel out. Yeah. Right? And I was doing it that way. Whereas Forza Horizon 5, I exclusively played on the Xbox before, with a controller. But... So it was just easier to just pick up and play, I suppose. And then, even though I could have just played Forza Horizon 4 on a controller whenever I wanted, I could have just done that, but I didn't. But yeah, I've ended up putting so much more time into Forza Horizon 5, and going back into it now immediately after playing 4, there's a big old question mark in my head going, I don't really understand why. I don't like this as much as Forza Horizon 4. For all the usual reasons. Okay, it looks beautiful, especially running on this new machine. Oh my god, it's a good-looking game. But I was able to buy the Jaguar I-Pace that I actually own, and it looks identical, and I'm like,
nice.
Hot damn, that is a good-looking car.
Sweet.
And could drive it in Forza Horizon 5, and it's fun. And yeah, it was really nice. And, as I say, I can max that thing out. It's a beautiful looking game. I just think it's like an indicative of the direction Forza Horizon is sinking into, not elevating into. Like the side challenges and all the voiceovers are so much more annoying in Forza Horizon 5 than they even are in Forza 4. Like, they exist in 4, and they're annoying there to some degree, but they seem so much more annoying in 5. Like I don't really know what it is. Like, just maybe it's over enthusiasm. Put it on YouTube. No, that's Dirt 3. Maybe it's the weirdness of, like, I think we talked about it before when I was first playing it, but the slight oddness of, they do that thing where, okay, we're in Mexico, so everyone says everything in English apart from the odd word which is weirdly in Spanish. Like there's like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and tell you, let's you can read all about it when you're back home in your cabana, it's cabin. Or I don't know. I can't even remember the word that they said. But like, she was just talking about, these things were even used as ambulances. Except she said the word ambulances in Spanish,
right? And
it's like it's a sort of strange, like, language trope, right? When they're trying to do other languages but in English at the same time. It really stands out here and feels forced. So I don't like that. I just don't think the challenges are that interesting. The map looks nice, but it's nowhere near as interesting as England bloody is. It's like there's a bit of me that's just, or Scotland, I should say. It's like this. I think you've done something wrong when like you can make an exotic location like Mexico seem less interesting than Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, yeah. I quite like the sort of vaguely Italian one. What was that?
That was 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, that was Horizon 2. That's a good game. Yeah, I like 2. I like 2 a lot. It didn't have these voiceover challenges at that point in time. They weren't, I don't think they were really a thing. I want to say they started to get introduced in 3 and then much more so in 4. Yeah, anyway, it's a pretty good game, but it's still a pretty good game, but like I think I prefer 4. Anyway, yeah, did a bit of that. So yeah, let's talk about the only thing I can really remember, which is Avowed.
Right. Well, the recent game release.
Yeah, recent game release.
Journalism.
So I'm not a Skyrim guy.
Yeah. You're not even a Fallout person.
I'm not even a Fallout person.
You're not Bethesda at all, basically.
I'm not Bethesda. The closest to Fallout I've got is another Obsidian game, Outer Worlds, right?
Yeah, which is pretty close.
It's pretty close, right? Yeah. So, and Obsidian's take on Fallout appealed to me, because, well, yeah, okay, they worked on New Vegas, right? That was an Obsidian joint, and and everyone loves that, right? So they clearly knew what they were doing. I'm a big fan of Obsidian. I pretty much like everything they do, so that drew me in. And also, it's not the whole point of Outer Worlds, right? Is that it's like Fallout, but it's nowhere near as big in scope. This is a reasonable amount of game.
Right.
Normal people can finish this. And so all of those things appealed to me about Outer Worlds. So I come into Avowed expecting the same thing. Like, it's from Obsidian, it's trying to do a Skyrim instead of a Fallout this time round. It's trying to do a slightly smaller scope than Skyrim. It's sort of ticking all those boxes in the same sort of way that I thought Outer Worlds would, on paper. In practice, I'm kind of thinking this is Skyrim. Like maybe it is smaller than Skyrim. It does not feel small. Like, it feels freaking massive in the sense that I've not put a huge amount of time into this yet. I should caveat I'm about 5-6 hours in, something like that. And the first couple hours I spent essentially getting to town and going through a sort of intro sequence and somewhat exploring your character and things like that. And then you get to town and it's like, yeah, all those characters those couple of characters you just met, yeah, you're not going to see them again. But they're done. But you're on your own now. Let's go do this other thing. Here's an objective. Let's go do that. That objective is friggin' miles away.
Right.
And I immediately stumbled, well, not immediately, it took me a little while, but then I stumbled on a side quest that has then taken the remainder of my time with that game. Like, not even the first major objective I'm supposed to be doing. I found a side quest that took all of the rest of that time. Yeah, this seems like a pretty big game.
I mean, it definitely sounds like Skyrim, but I think the thing that I haven't played this yet, obviously, but like the thing that I've seen people say about it is that the thing that makes it feel less like Skyrim is it's not like a big open world like Skyrim is.
So I don't know yet. I'm not sure I've seen
slightly more constrained paths between places.
That's probably true. Yeah, I've not seen enough of the world to know that it's just like big open plains or what. Like it's been kind of the first area is more of a canyon, I guess.
Yes, probably, intentionally, presumably, to shepherd you on to the start of the story.
Yeah, a valley, except somehow I didn't go that way. Somehow I've gone a different way and not done the things I was supposed to do. But never mind. I did eventually do the thing I was supposed to do, but
Because that was the thing that I've been wondering about it with, like, not playing or seeing much of it. It's just like, because that was the trick of Skyrim, is just like because it's a huge open world, you're just walking in a straight line between two places, but there's so much other shit that you find along the way.
Right, yeah.
Or you're not walking in a straight line, you're following the roads like it's a real world, but then you still find a bunch of shit.
Kinda, yeah. You're finding stuff, but I can't say I've been overwhelmed by what I've found on by going off the beaten path a little bit. You'll have a little look and go like, oh, I wonder what that is, and you'll go over there and it'll be a chest full of crafting materials or something, and it's like I think they're trying to or maybe simplify some of it somewhat, and like to the extent where the weapons are like, I feel like there's like a base set of weapons at certain. They have like quality levels, right? But that quality level is actually more important than player leveling. Like the quality level of your gear is what actually is the difficulty rating of things. So when I finished that side quest, I started discovering level 2 enemies, and it immediately put a pop up saying, "Yeah, these guys are probably out of your depth right now." And it's like, oh, that's interesting. I thought that number that I'd been seeing next to everyone was their level number, right? And so by the time I was like player level 4 or something, it was it's like, no, I'm expecting maybe that number will start going up eventually, and then it went to 2, and it's like, and then it said, no, that's a problem for you, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's a 2. I'm 4, and it's like, no, that means gear quality, and it's like, oh yeah, then I am in trouble. And I was immediately in trouble because it was the way out of the side quest I had done, and it put me in front of a level 2 bear, which doesn't make any sense. Like, the bear's equipment level is better than mine somehow. Yeah, and so it was like, run away. Run away very fast. So it feels like there's a lot of systems going on. Is I guess where I'm alluding to that. There's this gear system. There's this. You've got player abilities. You can upgrade the abilities of your team, your party as well, which actively fight with you. I say party. I've only got one other guy at the moment. I assume that expands. The gear I'm acquiring seems to be like, oh, you can have common spear, common sword, common book of grimoire, or grimoire of status.
Book of books.
Book of books, not quite. Grimoire of common magic or something.
Grimoire of common.
Yeah. But I haven't seen anything really outside of that. So when I go, like, when you see weapons lying about, they all tend to be like, oh, it's another common spear. Like, it's fine. I haven't really seen variants of that until I did one of the side quests and then found a couple of unique items that aren't things I can craft. Like, there are things you have to find, but I've seen 2 of those total. So I don't think there's necessarily a huge variation of like, if I find a sword, it's like, is that going to be marginally better than the one I have? It's like, I think the game's not trying to be that, right? It's not trying to be a stat comparison game.
But the gear quality level is kind of that anyway.
But it's in like discrete chunks.
Yeah.
So like you can within level 1 gear, right? There's level 1, and then there's 3 additional pips in level 1 that you can get, and then if you manage to upgrade a weapon through that, it then becomes a level 2, and then you go through the 3 pips in that one. So it's like but it's very regimented, right? It's not, you're not going to find something that just happens to be like +2 to DPS or something. Like, you're not going to find these minor variants within a weapon class. It's like, if you found a common spear and it's level 1, it's going to be the exact same as any other common spear at level 1 you found. It's not going to have random effect rolls or anything like that on it, or at least that's how it seems right now. Maybe that's going to get introduced later, but at the moment everything seems pretty streamlined.
But what about with the leveling of the gear and stuff? Does it feel like this is going to be kind of in some way linear or like radial or something? Like, does it feel like the progression of the equipment is literally like the progression of the game, or could you just walk somewhere and find like a tier 5 thing?
No idea. I mean, you probably could just find one. I don't know if I've seen enough of the world to really get a feel for how that's how things are scaling from the starting point.
Well, does it also? Do you have any idea whether that might be the case with enemies as well? Like, if you walk in a certain direction, the enemy's just going to be ridiculously powerful, and you're not just going to be able to go that way.
I think that's true.
Right.
Yeah, because as I say, when I came out of this side quest, I'd like started coming. The area I got spewed into basically seemed to be filled with a lot more level 2s. So I was like, I can't deal with these. I need to start. So I started routing back towards town, and then eventually, relatively quickly started seeing level 1s again. So I feel like maybe the placement of enemies throughout the world is maybe fixed, or the level of enemies throughout the world may be fixed.
Because that is kind of, I'm trying to remember exactly what Skyrim was like, because it obviously all the like items in the world were preset, and I don't believe it had. It might have had for maybe drops and certain chests where the contents would change depending on like how far through the game you were.
Right.
But then, and I think enemies could level up as well. But then obviously the thing about the overworld in Skyrim is because everything was just random. Not everything, like the events that you would happen across in the world were randomly generated. Those could be scaled towards your level or whatever. Yeah. So if you've
I don't know if I've come across an event of that, like an emergent gameplay event.
Right.
Well, I haven't seen that yet.
I mean, clearly this is why I should just play it. Then I'll be able to make a more direct comparison. I'll actually know what the fuck I'm talking about.
There definitely isn't a system where I can craft 1 billion daggers and level up my crafting skill.
Damn.
But
is there any other dumb leveling systems? Can you just jump a lot and level up jumping?
No. So it's definitely not like that. Like the leveling system seems harsh in that it's simple. Like, so leveling only gives you an ability to put a character trait point onto something. Like, right. So it gives you a point to that, and it gives you a point to upgrade an ability. So you have to know of the ability, I guess. Oh, yeah, there's several trees that you can choose from to work on. I'm going more wizardy for some reason, which actually seems like it might be quite a difficult route to take. I only chose that because it's like, this isn't a route I normally do. Right, I'm normally quite standard sword and shield guy.
Standard stealth archer, the classic Skyrim problem.
Stealth archer.
Can never avoid being stealth archer.
The bow did seem pretty good when it introduced it to me. But yeah, I'm trying to be wizardy.
Skyrim was just most of the time looking at that giant eye icon right in the middle of the screen. Yeah.
Yes, you get a point for your character traits like intelligence and stuff like that. Resolve, those sorts of things. And they have obvious, well explained like benefits to why you would choose to do those, and also they affect the conversation tree as well. Right, classic things like that. And then you also gain a point, and you gain a point for your ability tree, as I said. So you get as a wizard, for instance, I know that my grimoire of common skills gives me it gives me an ice skill, it gives me an electric skill, it gives me a fire skill and a shielding skill. But I can put a point into the ability for those. That means I technically don't need the grimoire for that anymore,
right,
and I could assign one of those to my abilities slots instead, of which you only have 4. You have 4 slots, and it's probably a good idea to assign at least one of them to health potions instead of So it's that sort of thing. But there's an ability wheel you can pull up as well.
Are those ability unlocks tied back to the character stats as well? Because that would be like how.
No, I don't think they are. Yeah. Well, there might be. There might be like I need to reach a certain point to unlock this next layer of stuff. I think there's like a tiering system where I need to be level 5 before I can access this tier of abilities.
But like in the Fallout style, it would be more obvious because where it's just like intelligence is the tree where you get the like crafting abilities and stuff, and like perception is the one for ranged weapons essentially.
Yeah, I haven't necessarily seen a correlation there.
So you could just be a real dumb wizard.
Yeah, you could be a dumbass wizard. Yeah. I think you probably could, yeah. Although I'm trying to be a smart-ass wizard.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, you said that it gives obvious stat bonuses, but is that where that is? Does your intelligence turn into DPS for magic, essentially?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember that being a thing. It's normally it's obvious. Obviously, if you go into strength, right, then your melee damage goes up. I think if you, it might be perception might give you range, but not range damage, stuff like that.
Right. Because that's kind of then that is just essentially the same system. Because you're just inherently going to build it like that to best optimize. You're not going to be a dumb wizard because probably the intelligence gives you a bonus to spellcasting or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I think it gave. Oh, I think you might be right. I think it might increase cast speed.
Right.
Not actual damage output or something like that. So
it's still technically DPS.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. But then you've got to worry about your essence level, so that's another stat that you need to consider.
Or go Diablo and just mash the potion button continuously. Mana potions.
So it feels very much like one of those. It's like there's the obvious comparisons to Skyrim are like the world is less interactive than Skyrim was. Like not every object,
not just a bunch of shit lying around.
No, there's like most objects aren't physicky. Right. Like Skyrim was.
You don't walk into a room and have everything on the table mysteriously jiggle.
No, it's nothing like that. There's a lot of fixed up. You can't just randomly murder everyone.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Okay.
Can you kill children? At any point, regardless of random or not.
I don't think I've seen a child.
Oh, okay.
So
can you do that in Skyrim? Usually, you just don't put children in the game.
No, I don't remember whether Skyrim had children or not, but I think even up to Fallout 4, you still couldn't actually kill children. They just go unconscious and then get back up after a while.
Yeah,
that'd be how it always worked in Bethesda games.
Children are Pokemon in Fallout.
Yeah, pretty much.
It seems okay. It seems very dry. I think would be my one.
Dry as in not interesting content wise, or just dry as in humor or whatever.
Both.
No,
it feels like it's played.
Oh, okay.
Kind of both. It feels like it's played very straight.
Right.
Too straight. I don't know if I'm not
for
really
an
feeling.
Obsidian game, right?
Yeah,
it's known for a bit of a twist. Compared to your average.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm really being drawn in by the story or the world or anything like that.
Unless that's just because you haven't reached the point where it will go weird.
Yeah, or where it has, I haven't reached the tipping point on it. It's like I don't think any one of the characters have been particularly badly written. They just feel like I don't know that I'm interested in anyone or anything yet. You know what I mean? It's like it's yeah. I'm in this land as a guy with trees growing out of his head. That's supposed to, where the land is supposed to be fighting back against people because of some sort of plague. There's voices in my head for some reason that we don't really understand the intent of, if they're good or bad. We don't really know if the intent of other people like me are good or bad. We don't know what the gods are up to in this world. There's an awful lot of lore with terminology and phrases and things like that. But they've done the thing that Pentiment does, and that at any point in time during a conversation, you can press X and it'll go, by the way, here's the lore, here's the glossary for everything everyone's talking about.
Right, yeah.
That's quite cool.
It's neat, yeah. I love that they did that. And it's a good thing that they nicked from Pentiment. It's just at any point, just press X and go I don't know what they're talking about when they refer to the wheel. What do you mean, the wheel? Everyone seems to hold the wheel in some level of regard, but no one's told me what it is. What is it? Just press X. They're just oh, right, okay, now I know what it is now.
Cool.
I mean, that's cool as long as it makes sense
but...
for your character to... If your character already knows it, but the player doesn't, then yeah, I guess it makes sense. But if that's how you're actually discovering the lore and your character never gets told, it's a bit weird.
Well, you're not supposed to be a player with amnesia. You know, it's not that set up. You're an envoy from Adia. I can't even remember the name of the place you're supposed to be from. Adia, or maybe that's an option. I don't know. At the start, I go, I'm an Adian envoy, I think, and so I'm supposed to be held in fairly high regard by the Empire, and I'm a scholar, because I'm a smart ass wizard.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to know shit. So the glossary is quite helpful.
If you're so high in regard, why do you suck? The classic RPG problem.
But the other classic RPG weirdness about conversation trees is everybody talks about, if you ask them, there's an awful lot of talk, right? Like the conversation trees seem excessively large.
Sure.
Like, hey guy you just met, tell me every detail about your upbringing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bit of that going on.
I mean, if you are an envoy and they know it, maybe that would make sense. Whereas, like, if
they do know
the
it.
envoy is going to ask you questions, maybe you just tell him
Maybe
stuff
you just
because
tell
you
him,
just assume it's important.
Like a census type thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm obliged to tell this person detailed stuff.
But I don't think that's the vibe here. Like, the Aedeans aren't particularly well regarded in this world. They're like seen to be putting order upon a place that is naturally disorderly. Yeah, you want to think of your starting area a bit like a pirate town, right? And they're happy it's a bit of a pirate town. It's like, we like that it's, a bit of a mess. This is why we're here. This is why people came to this place, for this lifestyle. And then the Aedeans are muscling in, putting order upon it in some degree. So you're not seen in particularly high regard. So yeah, you'd think there'd be a little more reluctance to tell you their entire life story whenever you ask, and like, so maybe I'd like to see a little less of that. And this was a problem in Outer Worlds as well. It's like, I know Obsidian are good about their writing and stuff like that, but like I think they got the balance much more right in Pentiment than they do here. Right, in Pentiment, it felt way more natural that people wouldn't tell you everything all the bloody time. The conversation trees felt neatly constrained to a flow of some description. They'd tell you just enough, but then maybe there'd be a story beat later where a bit more would be expand upon or something. But like, yeah, first time I set up camp and I'm talking to my cohort about stuff, and he's just rattling off the wars he was in and his squad mates and why he chose to not be to come to this place, and like in fairly good detail. And I'm like, this is taking a while, man. I'm like, there's a lot of information to go. Do I need it? Is there something interesting in this conversation tree that's going to help me progress the game? I don't even know. Maybe I should just not care about these conversation trees that much.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. Like, are they important or are they not? I don't know. It seems like a very Obsidian thing that they should be important.
Yeah.
But
I know, obviously very different games from the same developer, but do you prefer Pentiment, do you think, to this game, or are they quite different?
I definitely prefer Pentiment's tone, and
yeah,
it had a bit more brevity to its had a bit more brevity to its wit, to say in a different way.
It did.
And I even think Outer Worlds probably did a slightly better job of some of that stuff than it feels like so far here. But it's early days. This isn't a full-on review just yet. This isn't it's just how I feel after a few hours in. I would not be surprised if I fall off this. Let's put it that way. I'm getting that feeling already.
Not least,
but I don't even feel like it's a bad game. That's just the thing. I'm just not sure it's for me. Like, it might just be a bit too slow for me.
You have enough time to waste on games that you don't 100% like.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm not sure I'm really gelling.
Big games you don't like. Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm hugely gelling. Oh, I mean, we haven't talked about the actual gameplay systems here. I'm not sure I'm hugely gelling with its combat system. Like, it's fine. I haven't played a Skyrim. Just point that out. I haven't played really a first-person fantasy game like this. Of this design particularly, so I don't know how it compares particularly, but it don't feel a little clunky at times. Like, one-on-one fights feel manageable, but as soon as a whole heap of enemies are involved, that starts to feel a bit tricky to manage, because you've got ranged guys pelting you with arrows and rocks, and there's a little indicator on screen to tell you when things are coming. But you've got a stamina bar, so it's like it doesn't give you too much of a window for you to try and dodge them. So you're probably taking a fair amount of damage from ranged attacks at times if you're surrounded. And then there's probably one guy in the party that you're fighting of the group of enemies that's like the captain of the group or something. Or there's usually one that's a bit more powerful than the others. So it's like my natural instinct is to get rid of the minions, get them out of the way so I can fight the big guy properly. But the big guy's like just chasing you down, and it's like, shit, I got to deal with this guy. But then all these other little freaking rocks are just hitting you in your face, and it's just I don't know. It feels like quite a lot to manage, and like so you can lose your health pretty fast. And then it's like, crap, I've got to get out of the fight to give me enough time to actually drink this potion. And potions don't just give you your health back immediately. It's sort of a regenerative effect.
Okay.
And it seems like certain things regenerate faster than others, although I can't really see a stat for that or anywhere. But there's a bit in the back of your mind that's just like, well, potions are a limited resource, and I don't just get them back at bonfires like a Dark Souls or something like that. It's like, if I do shit in this fight, then it's like I'm left in a bit of shit. And they haven't been super easy. I haven't died yet, but like I wouldn't say it's felt easy. And I'm playing at a standard normal difficulty. Like I haven't changed anything. It's just it's a bit overwhelming fairly quickly.
It's kind of interesting to have challenge from like the combat, like the it's not that Skyrim is like bash so lame.
Well, I mean, it might be because
of not the strength of that game.
Yeah, I mean, it might be somewhat because I've gone the wizarding route, right? So I've tried to go wholeheartedly into it and like be like, I'm holding my grimoire in one hand and a wand in the other, and I'm Harry Pottering shit, like or at least trying to. But then that makes me incredibly vulnerable when stuff gets up in my ass. It's I haven't really got a block particularly, so. But you do have, like, you can press Y to swap between two different weapon sets. So I do have a sword shield backup. So, like, I'll be grimoiring and wanding in my primary, and then I'll switch to sword and shield, which happen to be my two unique items that I have so far. So I can actually just fight normally. But then that feels wrong. But it's like, because that's not the character I'm trying to be. But I somewhat feel like I have to do it with certain enemies that are closing gaps quickly, or I'm just being pelted from all angles. I kind of need something with a shield up so I can just tank some damage for a while.
I mean, maybe that's just the super early game, where you haven't really got that far into any of the class stuff for it to make that much difference yet.
And I wonder if it's a semi-intentional design choice to make the experiment,
right? Because
but it doesn't feel like the wizardy route is a super viable option on its own right now. Like I need a bit of, but whereas if I think I had been melee focused, that feels viable,
right? Because obviously the problem with the old Skyrim system is what you do is what levels up. So when you commit to being a spellcaster, you just start gaining skill in the spellcasting. And therefore, not only does it theoretically make you better at it sooner, but also it's like if you're ever killing anything any other way, you're wasting those experience points.
Exactly. Yeah. It definitely encourages you to focus. Whereas that's not how this works at all. It's like I could decide to murder absolutely everything I see with the sword and shield, and then just pump my points into wizardry.
Yeah.
In the hope that it gets viable later. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It's it's interesting in the sense that, like, I feel like I'm learning something about maybe about Oblivion in some way. Like I'm learning about Elder Scrolls indirectly.
Yeah,
right, indirectly. Yeah,
that style of game, anyway. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what your take on it is. Maybe I'll play a bit later and just show you something. Let's see what you think. But spoilers.
I mean, it's on Game Pass.
Sounds like you need a long, dull game, Zach, to be playing.
Yeah,
You've got nothing to play.
I had kept thinking about Avowed, but never started it.
It's quite pretty. I'll give it that.
I mean, honestly, every time I think about Avowed, I just keep thinking about playing Skyrim again.
Play Skyrim.
Bloody Skyrim.
It's been a long time since I last played Skyrim. Like,
I finished Skyrim at the time, which is weird because I didn't really like it.
Wait, you played? I don't remember you playing Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, when it came out, pretty much. Or it must have been the next year or something. I know on PC.
I definitely remember Dan played it pretty early.
Because I remember the whole like mushroom, basically the depths from
the Dwarven Underground area.
Yeah, the Dwarven Underground, the Dwemer or whatever.
Yeah,
that was super early.
The trouble is, of course, that like you think, you could play this or you could play Skyrim, but then when I think about playing Skyrim, it's like, oh shit, I'll just play Stealth Archer again. Like that one time where I actually forced myself to play actual assassin style with where you get the backstab bonus and you're using only a knife because the knife gives you the huge backstab bonus when you're playing like that. It's like, oh yeah, this is actually viable once you get to that point, but it sucks in the early game. And I expect that's the same case for like the magic and everything. Like,
yeah, probably.
In the early game, it's going to suck. But if you could actually get over that hump and like make it to Whiterun or whatever in Skyrim and get the actual Wizard College and all the bonuses from that, then it probably does become viable. But that was the Skyrim problem, where it's like it's too easy to become a stealth archer because that's just what you do at the start of the game, and then your skill points are all going into stealth and archery.
Because the story
I'm getting my
leads you.
Skyrim fix from just watching that YouTube channel of that guy I mentioned before on the podcast, Eddie Austin, where he just goes around every
Looking
single
at
town in
things,
Skyrim trying to figure out who's employed and who's not. He just does a direct survey, literally look at every single NPC, being like, "Has this person got a job?" Yeah, it's quite weird. It's very boring, but in a good way. His latest video is trying to find the most boring place in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, what's the most boring?
I've only seen the thumbnail of that, but I already agree with the thing he's put in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Spoilers. What is that?
It's one of those little tiny floating chunks of rock that are near where you glide down from where the tower sends you up. Because you know when you go off in the tower, there's usually one island that has like a glider or whatever on it to fly from.
Sure.
But there's that one, I think it's probably in the jungle near the lightning area. But there's one where to get to the island with the glider, there's a series of little tiny stepping stones that you can go down, but they don't have literally anything on them. It's literally that blank rock texture.
Right, yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Those are definitely pretty boring.
Pretty dull, yeah. But they are still floating
He actually
rocks.
has yeah, that's true. He has actually quite a spicy hot take, which is that Zora's Domain is boring.
What?
Fair enough.
What, like the whole thing?
Yeah,
Like what? How much of Zora's Domain are we talking about?
like too many stairs.
I mean, there's not a huge amount to actually do in the domain, but it's pretty.
Too blue. I like it. I like Zora's Domain.
Yeah.
Probably like it more in Breath of the Wild, to be fair. But, yeah. But isn't it like in Zora's Domain in Tears of the Kingdom? Like, of course, they had to put the shrine somewhere else, so it's like under one of the things. But then you can use the stupid ability to just, go through the ceiling or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
From the shrine, which is fine. But it's like this is weird. When there's a perfect place for a shrine.
Yes, there's a convenient now empty room.
Now empty.
It's because they all disappeared.
I mean,
mysteriously.
Yes. And where did the elevator shaft go?
Right, that went down into the shrine, yeah.
Man, you know what this conversation's making me want to do?
Play Tears of the Kingdom?
No, play Age of Calamity in apocalyptic difficulty.
Well, okay. But we're waiting for the Switch 2 for that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. We probably should. See if it runs better.
Get your frame rates. Get your frame rates up.
Happy days.
I mean, I guarantee that's going to happen. Look forward to it on the podcast. When the Switch 2 comes out, one of the first games that we're going to talk about is going to be Age of Calamity.
Does the Switch 2 backwards compatibility grant it more power?
That's the question.
I mean,
it'll be very disappointing if it doesn't.
I'm hugely expecting it not to. That's a very Nintendo thing to do.
I'm hoping that the worst case would be you have to wait for the patch to come out, but the patches do come out. right? That would
Well,
be because that's happened before, right?
Sure.
The worst case will be that it's like Square Enix stuff just isn't on the compatibility list, and it never gets updated because they don't do it, and it's not a Nintendo game, so they don't do it.
I don't think that's. I think they'll make majority. I think the asterisk about the compatibility is genuinely about the ring fit and hardware stuff that won't work.
Yeah, that's the assumption.
Yeah. Well, we'll soon see. We'll see before next podcast, hopefully.
Yeah. But that's what worries. In some ways, that's what worries me most. It's like, you know, that they will just scale back and it will run exactly like a Switch because they're worried about compatibility. Which is, in some ways, that's a fair stance to take. Like, if they want to do that, that's fine. But I really hope they don't. I really hope they have like a boost mode. Yeah. Even if it's not a mode, like, is that?
I
just
wouldn't mind
default?
if you have to wait for them to issue an official patch for games, as long as they actually come out.
Well, yeah, that adds an air of uncertainty. Like, what games are going to have the work done to them? What games that really need the patch aren't going to get the patch?
And also,
I guess all that it really should be is like, there is a secret boost mode, but the developers have to check that it doesn't break everything before they unlock it, basically.
I mean,
it'd be okay.
Maybe, yeah. I think that's more likely that they might actually pull the trigger then, but
that is
or not even the developers, but Nintendo themselves.
Well, yeah, that is the problem, that someone has to do it, and it's either Nintendo has to do it for everyone, or you have to rely on developers choosing to do it.
Yeah.
That's sort of why Sony didn't. They say, like, here's the boost mode, here's an option you can turn on if you want. It might break some games.
Right, yeah.
That was Sony's stance on it. Yeah,
it doesn't feel very Nintendo, that, you know.
Oh, it really doesn't. Yeah.
It would be cool. But there was that rumor that they were showing off the Switch 2 hardware using a 60 frames per second version of Breath of the Wild, supposedly. So that's interesting. But that was a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice.
I'm not saying they would actually release that. They probably won't, but...
No, that's sort of my thing. Like I don't know that Nintendo would go back and do things. Partly because Nintendo will probably want to, keep it running as crap as it used to, because that gives us even more wow factor when we decide to re-release it a couple of consoles from now.
Yeah.
Maybe. It would be a dream if there was I don't know. I would really like that if it was a 60 frames per second Breath of the Wild with sure. Some of the I would like some of the quality of life stuff from Tears of the Kingdom backported, like just the opening chest thing.
One big
so you
game
have to drop things. Well, they probably will sell them together, right? As a pack,
but
right?
I mean, just make it one big game instead. Make so halfway through the game the world gets changed.
Right,
with a time skip.
I don't think that's likely.
No.
Nope.
I remembered something else I played very briefly. I played Echo the Dolphin 3D because I opened my 3DS.
Wait, what?
There was a YouTube video about Echo the Dolphin, and I was like, oh yeah, I have that on 3DS, don't I?
So, you have that?
Yeah, I got that ages ago.
Is that like the Sega Ages version? Like, where it was like, it is basically the Mega Drive version, they've just added 3D layering to it.
Essentially, yeah, although it's like, it's got a wrapper or whatever, so it actually has, like, it has options for, like, well, it has the obvious option of, like, how the 3D works. So it's that you have the, like, inwards or outwards 3D, essentially, where it's what direction it's moving the layers, basically, to make the 3D work.
Inwards.
Yes, obviously. But then you've got, like, you can run the Japanese version instead of the international version. Which, as far as I can tell, doesn't really change anything apart from the text, obviously. Although I didn't play it for very long in Japanese. Also, I guess the one thing that you notice immediately is that for some reason in the Japanese version it plays the echo sound effect when the Sega icon appears, but in the international version there's no sound effect.
Oh, weird.
It's just Sega. I mean, not even Sega, the sound effect, it's just the logo. But then there's also, you can switch the sound emulation mode, I guess, between Mega Drive and Mega Drive 2.
Oh, okay. That does actually make a difference in some things.
Yeah, it doesn't. I wouldn't have said it's super noticeable in this version of Echo. It's like, you can sometimes hear them running out of channels in certain cases.
I would put it on Mega Drive 1.
Yeah.
Because Echo is old enough that the 2 didn't exist yet. So, yeah, definitely do it for the chip it was designed for.
Yes. But yeah, I played not very long. Oh, and I guess there's also you can, if you want to, you can, instead of having the nice looking graphics, you can switch it into classic mode where it puts a pointless CRT bend on it and makes it all blurry.
And keeps the 3D on?
Yes, and keeps the 3D on.
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
But that kind of looked crap.
Yeah.
So I was like, nope, turn that off. But yeah, I only played that for like 2 levels, and I was like, yeah, that's still Echo.
Huh.
I never finished it on the 3DS. I got to like... I think I got to the prehistoric area, but then the thing you have to do to defeat, well, it's not really a boss exactly, but you have to. Do you remember anything about Echo? You have to go into the past to get one of the balls out of that weird DNA thing, called the asterisk. But like in the past, when you were trying to basically steal one of the balls out of the past version to bring to the future version, because that doesn't make any sense. But like the way you have to do it is you have to very specifically like attack multiple of the same coloured ball as it's rotating. And that's just fucking hard. Because if you miss and like your attack doesn't hit the thing you're going for, you're then in it and it just damages you over and over. Until you can get out of it. It's like, that sucks. And then if you die, you start at the start of the level. So you have to make your way all the way back down there again.
Yeah.
That's the Echo style.
Echo was always pretty harsh with its deaths.
I don't think when I had the PC version, I don't think I ever finished it. I think I got to the alien ship.
Finished it. I sort of vaguely remember you.
I mean, I remember. I think that I got to the alien ship. I just don't think I ever got through that goddamn nightmare auto scroller that is the inside of the alien ship.
Yeah, that bit. Oh, because I've never finished it, but I do remember you playing. I don't think I've never got anywhere near that far into it. But man, yeah, Echo is one of those games where there's a bit of me that absolutely friggin' loves the concept of it, but playing it is a pain in the ass.
Pixel art was really nice,
it's beautiful. I love the style. I love the ambiance.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with this 3DS version when I got it when I first got it was just like because I'd thought about Echo again, but like to me, because I played the PC version, I'm like, this is just the music is just not as good. It's not CD quality or whatever. But I don't even really remember the PC version. Like I don't remember it in a way where it's like I know what those tracks were.
No.
Although I also don't really remember the Mega Drive. Like the version I literally just played, I also don't really remember the music that much either.
No, I can't remember what they did to the PC version exactly.
But I just distinctly remember when I did play the 3DS version for the first time, I was like, oh, this just isn't quite as good as the PC one. It's the same situation with playing Sonic 3, whereas because I played the Sonic 3 PC release first, and it's like, if I go back to the real ones, it's like, oh, this is not the CD quality I'm used to.
No, but Sonic 3 is the exact opposite, right? Like, Sonic 3 on PC was rubbish, like, compared to the actual Mega Drive one. Like, because Sonic 3 on PC has MIDI music.
I like them better.
What?
And also I like the PC...
You're just so wrong!
I also like the PC-specific tracks better. Like the other version of Carnival Nights and the other version of Launch Phase. I prefer those.
Oh, no way, man. Oh, I love I love those versions. Okay, admittedly, the loop on Carnival Night on the Mega Drive version is quite short. But I love those. I love the sort of weird... almost Mediterranean feel of launch base on Mega Drive. The do 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 do. Oh man, no, you're so wrong.
The PC version of
Ice Cap on Mega Drive, man, that is the shit.
That one's good, but I still might prefer the PC one.
Dagger to my heart.
The PC version of Launch Base is better because it has the launch style.
Okay, yeah, there's that.
It feels more like the word launch.
Yeah, it's a bit more military.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that thematically. Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I did when I turned on my 3DS. Well, and I guess I also played like a couple of minutes of Final Fantasy Theatre Rhythm because obviously every time I turn on my 3DS,
yeah,
I have to play a bit of that again. And I actually got some new card unlocks. Because, like, the last time I played that game, I got down to, like, the last 3 or 4 cards that I had never dropped. And I got, like, 2 in consecutive songs. I was like, well, this is annoying. Weird luck. It's always funny to look at the high scores on that game where it's just like, when did I set this high score? Oh, 2014. And the weirdness of that bit of UI where, like, even when that game came out, for some reason the numbers didn't fit on one line, so it spills over. It's like a really shit bit of UI.
Oh, weird.
It was like 2014.
4. Is there a Switch version of Theatre Rhythm?
Yes, it was that. It was like, I forget what it was called. Final Curtain or something, because they keep calling it Final whatever.
Final something.
Curtain Call, Final Performance, whatever. But yes, there was that on there. And,
for real this time, XXX.
yes. But as we said at the time, it's like, this seems too expensive for what is basically another copy of that game.
Yeah. Also, no stylus, right? Isn't the stylus kind of crucial to Theatre Rhythm? But
kind of on some of the levels. You want to play the field levels where it's more about that style.
I suppose you could get one of those stilly that actually work on capacitive screens. And then
it might still work with like a finger, but who uses the touchscreen on their Switch ever for any reason? Who even undocks their Switch, really?
I'm sure people do.
Yeah.
Not me.
No, also not me. Oh, that reminds me, I need to finish Starlink.
Anyway, that's that. Dan, do you have any video game things to say about what you've been doing?
Not this week,
No.
but I think I'm pretty much getting to a point with this side project where I might stop doing it and play some games instead. We'll have to see. Unless I think of more features. But because I finished my project at work, I might have time during the day to look at some stuff. So I can play video games in the evening when I'm supposed to be relaxing, like you guys do. So we'll see. I need to get back to Tears of the Kingdom. That's the one. I've got to finish it.
Well, man,
basically done at this point.
You two fucking finish it, and we can talk about all the spoilers I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I know. I do.
Coming.
Every now and then, that thought does just flow through my mind to be like, I should just go at the end game and just see the end of it.
I just keep thinking
because I never
about,
did that with Breath of the Wild
No.
until Zach showed me the end game.
Yep.
Because I had the exact same.
I've
There's
done all
always
the
something to
temples,
do.
and it's like, well, the big dungeons and everything. And it's like every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, I probably need to go to the depths and like grind or whatever. And it's like, no, I still haven't done the the Yiga clan stuff in the depths very much.
Right.
But I started it, but there's obviously more where there's like presumably a whole dungeon down there.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Anyway. And then there's caves. There's ever more caves. Even when you're done with, there's depths and caves. I don't know.
Right, how much completion do you want? And are the rewards even worth it? I think
Probably not that
almost all the
much
cases,
at this
probably not.
point.
No.
Yeah.
That's sort of
But
the
Breath of the
problem.
Wild, I was like, it was pretty completionist about. But this one, it's like, no, I don't think. I'm not gonna be fighting fucking golden Lionels in the Colosseum for like you, Zach.
I mean, the completion for getting all the shrines is cool thematically, but not like useful or anything.
Right. Isn't the Colosseum in the depths
Yes.
in this one or whatever? Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
hell.
both, obviously. The Colosseum above
Right.
is still there and the Colosseum below.
Jeez, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll see. Maybe I should just get a new game just to play, just to have something different.
Well,
But I don't know what
always
that would be.
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah, I
something
know.
small.
It's like,
That'd be the ideal, I would say.
yeah, get something small. Maybe I should get what's the Animal Well or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not actually that small, but
Right? Yeah, it's probably not. Yeah.
Hey, Yakuza game.
very not
Yeah,
small.
break out Yakuza. Yeah, start on the Odyssey. It's time for Kiwami.
Join
Let's get
us. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
definitely play. Oh, yeah, just play Kiwami and yeah.
going. Yeah. What was I thinking might be good? I can't remember. I think all these video games we talk about. Need to find a game. I should probably just play Astrobot. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
that makes sense for
Definitely.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Watch this space. And that's a podcast. We also do videos on YouTube. I don't know if you've heard of YouTube. It's quite good for videos.
Quite good for... Okay, brief backtrack to YouTube news, because I'm still pissed about goddamn YouTube adverts. Now the worst ones are when it's clearly an advert from TikTok that's just been put on YouTube. So it's like vertically oriented with shit on the side. It's God damn it.
So we do like 16:9 aspect ratio content.
We do.
Majority, anyway. Some of them have like
This is like a Dreamcast.
Anywhere necessary. And you can find that at Happy Salad on YouTube. So check that out. We're doing a run through of Star Fox Adventures and other things besides. So check those out, and we'll be back here with another Saladcast in a couple of weeks. So we'll catch you then. Goodbye.
Boy!
Cut out.